Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast, where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Balthazar.
And, well, we went through a roller coaster of emotions on the day that this has been being recorded, which is the day before it comes out, Thursday, June 26th. And, I mean, most of it comes down to the alleged commitment and then in reality not commitment of someone, but we'll talk about that first, then talk about the women's team getting on the women's basketball team, I should clarify, getting on the board for its first 2026 commit for basketball. Then we can talk about the men's basketball schedule. A couple of things have released there, but the big news was Ian Premer, the Great Bend tight end, is going to go to Notre Dame, which is strange because they had allegedly been out on his recruitment for a little while now, and it was supposedly a fight between Iowa State, K-State, and KU. So I'll admit it is objectively funny to have the fourth party who did not fight on Twitter sort of come in and take him out. It is a little funny, but it comes off the heels of, I don't want to get into insider information, but let's just say that K-State felt confident about him joining the team. He was the last visit for Premer, but
I mean, we can talk about it because the writers put in like public predictions for Premer to go to K-State. Like that's not paywalled information. Like they're not doing that if they don't have somebody telling them that like it's probably happening. And so the timeline of events likely goes Premer decides he's going to pick K-State, calls the other schools and lets them know that he's not going to go there. Notre Dame freaks out and says, we'll give you $1 billion and exempt you from going to mass if you're not Catholic. And then he said, okay.
And if you are Catholic, we're excommunicating your family.
Yes. So that's imagining how that went down. I'm pretty displeased about it. I'd be like probably 85 to 90% less annoyed if all these predictions hadn't come flowing in this morning. If he had just like randomly committed to Notre Dame this afternoon, I would have been like, man, that really sucks. But I would have been like, that's fine, because we knew it was close recruitment the whole time. But it's the emotional whiplash that's really getting me right now. And also the fact that it's setting in that I think we're going to get like one top 10 guy in the in-state class for 26 at this point, and that's LaMarcus Barber. So the tight end room is going to be fine, but that's not why I'm annoyed about it. Like, we'll be fine in that room, but man, that's a gut punch of a loss.
Yeah, and I think it's important what you said about the whole Kansas thing being important, because LaMarcus Barber will probably end up top 10. I would make an argument for Lawson McGraw end up being top 10 in the state. But, I mean, this is the first year of us doing the show where we haven't essentially put a wall around the state of Kansas for everyone except one guy. And it's strange to say, because I actually have found myself sort of being on the high end of this recruiting class, because I like pretty much all of the commits in this recruiting class. But even I'll admit that from an outsider's perspective looking in, or from a more casual perspective, it doesn't have that one massive get. Now, that could still happen. There are still a few 4-star targets out there, but Premer was always the 1A target for K-State this year.
Yeah, and I mean, some recruiting services actually have him higher than they had Lincoln Cure. Like on On3, I think he's 24th nationally, which by the time the rankings get done, that'd be a 5-star, because they kind of expand the 5 stars as the class develops. But so Cured, very different tight end perspective. Premer, I should say, is a different prospect than Cure. Cure definitely more of a raw athlete, and you could argue a higher ceiling, but Premer's much closer to a finished product right now, and would still, like, without a doubt, be a huge help to us. And I've been able to run some incredible 2 tight end sets using those 2 guys. That's just not going to happen now. That is, unless Ace and I have discussed in DMs, the Premer flips to Colorado and then leaves after a year and ends up back at home anyways. So see if he takes the Dylan Edwards path, but I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, again, to piggyback off your point, it's not necessarily the player, even though the player is insanely good. It's more what the player means. Because it's exactly what you said. The tight end room is going to be fine. Garrett Oakley, Lincoln Cure, probably Lawson McGraw ends up moving to the offensive side of the ball in this class. Andrew Metzger, Will Ansiat are still on roster. I mean, it just sucks. I mean, especially because as much as I said it's funny that Notre Dame as the random fourth party comes in, that also kind of makes it hurt worse because they were out.
Yeah, I mean, like, as the kids say, we got sunned in this recruitment. Like, Notre Dame, like, kind of fell out of favor, and it was between mainly us and Iowa State. KU was hanging around, and then Notre Dame at the last second says, actually, we're going to try now. And it takes them all of 2 hours to get all the momentum changed or shifted from us to them. And then it hurts losing to Notre Dame, too, because they're, like, one of, like, the elitist schools of, like, college football, like, history, like, both in terms of their on-field performance, but also in how they carry themselves. They do kind of have the elitist aura about them. So I hate having to give them credit for literally anything. So
for some reason, this feels very similar to when we lost Joe Otting, except for there's no evidence that Premer's dream school was Notre Dame.
Yeah, it's near identical. It's a highly touted in-state guy that we've been on a lot longer than Notre Dame has, that would have done great things here. But so I don't know, maybe Premer will end up saying Notre Dame's his dream school, but for the right deal, you can get about anybody to say anywhere's their dream school. So I don't know how much that actually really means, but
yeah, it's annoying, and that's pretty much all my thoughts on it. It's annoying and it's frustrating, but what isn't annoying and frustrating is the women's basketball team getting their first commit of the 2026 cycle, and that is Sage Henry, and guard, which we all know that Mitty loves him some guards, and especially guards that know how to distribute and know how to score proficiently. And this is a really solid start to the 2026 class, in my opinion. But then again, my evaluation abilities on basketball are not good. So, Connor, what do you think of the commits?
There's a limited amount of film that I was able to find on her Twitter account that it showed a pretty versatile combo guard, I think is what we're getting. I saw 75 Sports reported her as a top 75 4-star. I didn't see a publication that was with, though, because I don't think she's listed on ESPN, and I haven't seen where else that may be. So it may be like a paywalled source that we just don't have access to. But she's somebody that at one point was considered to be one of the top guards in her class as a freshman in high school. But maybe that growth has slowed for whatever reason. She had a Utah offer pretty early in her career. K-State offered her, I think, like 2 or 3 years ago as well. They've been on for a while. So this is clearly somebody that Mitty wanted, and kind of fits the archetype of what Jeff Mitty wants in a guard. Someone that can play multiple positions, can score multiple levels, and also is going to have long arms to be an effective defender on the perimeter. So this is your like cut and paste standard like midi guard recruit, I think. So I'm interested to see if she ends up getting rated by the more public sources. On3 started to do some women's basketball rankings. I think 24/7 does a little bit, but not much. And then ESPN, which they try sometimes, but
we've said it before. We will only use ESPN rankings as relevant to our narratives.
Yes, and I think that's about as useful as they're ever going to be, unfortunately. So
remember, Jake Rubley was like a top 10 quarterback in the country for ESPN.
He was. I guess if we wanted to be nice, we could give him a pass because that was that COVID evaluation cycle, and frankly, nobody had anybody right. I mean, like we had no offense, but Braden Wood was like a fringe 4-star in that class, and I think got cut at like Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
So not an easy class to eval there, but even outside of that circumstance, they're not very good.
No, but this is to me, it's just a good start. You always want to start with your guards and sort of just build everything else around them. So this is a great start to the 26 class, and I'm still very interested in how this women's season is going to go because I view it, I've said it multiple times, and I'm going to say it many more times. This women's season reminds me a lot of this last year's baseball season, where it's a very young team that's going to have to learn to play together, and they can beat just about anyone, but they can also get beat bad by just about anyone.
Yeah, a lot of new faces, a ton of new faces. Taryn Side, really the only returner that we for sure know about. Kennedy Taylor, we still don't know one way or another. At least there hasn't been anything said publicly about whether she'll be able to come back or not. Because if she isn't, then I'm going to have some alarm bells going off. Like Iowa State's going to obliterate us if Kennedy Taylor isn't back. So.
Yeah. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But the last little bit of news, it's a shorter episode this time, is the men's basketball's had a little bit of their non-conference schedule release, and they had their conference schedule matrix release a little while ago, and I think you and I talked about that a little bit, where it was shockingly favorable towards K-State.
Yeah, but particularly the home games were pretty favorable.
Yeah. But the non-conference games, it's sort of a shift in philosophy from the previous season where we're actually playing teams with pulse and doing so on purpose this year, because the newest of the non-conference announcements are Mississippi State in the Hall of Fame Classic. Nebraska and New Mexico will also be there, so who knows how that ends up shaking out. Then they announced a series with Creighton, and then the last one is a home-and-home series with Indiana. I believe we're going to Bloomington this year. So it's going to be nervy. It's going to be nervous towards the beginning of the year with the non-conference schedule with me, at least.
Yeah. And a couple more that I had forgotten about that have also been announced. Tulsa is coming to Bramlage. They put out their non-conference schedule, and we were on it. So I'm assuming that they are telling the truth, unless that's news to us. And then we're finally getting that return game with Cal from Coach Ting's first year.
Oh, my God. I forgot that happened.
Yeah, because that was like the second game of the Tang era, I'm pretty sure. So we're finally getting them back. Indiana at Assembly Hall. Apparently, K-State and Indiana used to play a lot, like back in the like 50s, 60s, 70s, and even a little bit into the 80s, but like haven't since then. But I guess that makes sense because K-State and Indiana, traditional basketball powers. I mean, like back then we were like a pretty big time basketball school. We played them almost yearly. So glad that we're kind of getting back into that. Indiana, despite how up and down they've been, that is a school that is willing to throw absurd amounts of money at college basketball because Indiana is just a basketball state, period. I think Creighton has been really good these last few years too. I think they're going to be in a bit of a reloading year because I think they're losing Kalkbrenner, who was their big center who did everything for them. But yeah, this is a schedule filled with some recognizable names, which maybe not the best choice. I think it's maybe shaking out a little bit differently than we thought it was going to, especially with I don't know, but yeah, this is going to be an interesting start to the year. I imagine from these few games that have already been announced, I bet every other game is just going to be like a bye game against somebody that we've barely heard of. And I really would be fine with that because that stretch from November 20th through the 25th, that's going to be the Hall of Fame Classic where we get Mississippi State and then either Nebraska or New Mexico, whoever wins their game, which for what it's worth, Nebraska, under Hoiberg, is conscious, and New Mexico, they were pretty good last year. And then we get Indiana right after on the 25th. So, it's going to be a pretty quick turnaround, and then we're going to have to find room for Creighton and Cal somewhere in there. So, there's going to be some fairly watchable television, pending the skill level that we're playing at, which that will change everything. I'm very cautiously optimistic, but we'll see.
Yeah, I just thought it was worth covering, especially because it's been such a slow news, a relatively slow news week, because that's pretty much all the news.
Yeah. Did we really talk too much about the schedule matrix and who we're actually going to be
I don't think we did. No, I think that was in one of our longer episodes, so we may as well cover it now.
Yeah, we can just pad the runtime a little here. I'm going to feel bad if we don't hit at least 20 minutes. And so I've got it pulled up. So we're getting Baylor, BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, Iowa State, KU, TCU, and Utah and West Virginia all at home. That's a pretty favorable home slate. BYU is going to be a big game. Obviously, AJ DeBonsa, the amount of money that BYU has just been throwing in athletics recently. I mean, they just got a 5-star QB committed for football.
He's going on his mission.
Yeah, but he will not be there next year. He's going on his mission. So shout out to Mormon Missions and Jake Clifton.
Still, there was a thread on KSO today. I read 2 posts, and I'm like, you know what? I'll check back in a day, and I'll see how this devolved.
That's why I mentioned it, was because I routinely forget that Jake Clifton exists. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember when our linebacker corps just got completely decimated in the month of May with our best linebacker leaving. That was really nice. But the BYU visiting is going to be pretty big. It's good to get Iowa State at home, KU at home, of course, because KU is one of our protected rivals for men's basketball. So we get them home and away every year. Ace, any games sticking out to you from the home slate?
From the home slate? No, I just really like that we don't have to go to Utah at all.
I am glad about that as well because that was what destroyed the season last year. Because we were on that run of fun basketball, and
then we weren't.
And then we went to Utah, where K-State dreams go to die. Unless you're women's basketball and you blow out both teams by 40, but
that was cool.
That was nice of them. But at least KU's dreams also got thwarted out there as well. Because did they lose to both, or they just lose to Utah?
No, they lost to both.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they got obliterated by BYU, I think. But yeah, and then the away games, actually some pretty challenging games here. Arizona is going to be a big one. Houston and Texas Tech obviously standing out. But then you get Arizona State, Colorado, Oklahoma State, TCU, West Virginia, all teams that are going to struggle. And then, of course, KU, you're going to be on the road there as well. So you've got 4 games where I'm looking at, and I'm pretty much writing off our chances of winning them like right now. But then you look at the other games like Arizona State, Colorado, Oklahoma State, TCU, and West Virginia. Those are all very winnable games. So K-State got a weird draw for the road games, or 4 of them are probably going to be the top 4 in the conference. Like, well, assuming KU gets it together. And then the other 5 might be the bottom 5.
Does KU have a roster right now?
I think they just got a guy to reclassify out of 2026. He's a guard.
Okay.
So I don't know. They're going to be a lot like us, where they just have a ton of new pieces and they're trying to build around a guard. Except ours is a portal and theirs is a high school guy. So funnily, we might be kind of similar teams. Other than they have at least one decent post player that they know is going to play for them with Flory. We have like half a post player that might play for us.
Yeah, I would give us a little bit more of a chance against Texas Tech. I would put that as like 80-20 for us losing, but there's a chance. I mean, we're going to get destroyed at Arizona and Houston, but yeah. I mean, if I'm looking at a schedule and I can only see 2 or 3, like, yeah, we're going to die losses, especially in the Big 12, like, that's fine. That's favorable.
Yeah. And like, keep in mind, that's not us saying we're only going to lose 3 games. That's us saying there's only 3 games that we're looking at and saying no shot. Like, they're like all the road. It's tough to win on the road, period, no matter who it's against. But there's going to be some teams on there that are going to be more winnable. And I kind of agree with your assessment of Texas Tech, which like they were fantastic last year, and I think they're going to be really great again this year. But even when we weren't playing well, we got them pretty early in conference play, and we almost got them. Like we nearly beat them, and that was before we decided to be good. So, like, I don't know what their excuse is for that, but it might be a McCasland Baylor connection thing, because Jerome Tang just seems to get bonuses to coaching abilities when he faces guys from the same coach tree. But
it's a strange ability to have, but fine.
Although he did finally lose to Baylor last year, which was a shame. But I don't know, man. I'm curious to see how it goes this next year. I think that's how you feel as well, as a curiosity. Hopefully we can make it work with getting one more big on the roster to make me feel a bit better, or else this is probably going to be like a one and done first weekend team, like in March Madness, I think at best.
Well, it depends on if it gets expanded. That's another topic.
If it does, that's not happening next year though.
Yeah.
Like that'll be a year out.
For some reason I thought it was this year.
No, college sports, it's always like if there's a change, like I just look at it and say, okay, it's going to take another year to do that, because it takes a while for the NCAA to do things. A famously efficient organization, the NCAA. Yeah.
Oh God, we still have to do what does the settlement mean episode.
You mean you have to do the
what? Yeah, you got the bars.
Yeah, but I have other matters to attend to, unfortunately.
Actually, you know what? That may be what I do, is just record that episode, release it on the 4th, since we'll both be out and about that day. So
yeah, that actually isn't a bad idea.
Anyway, that's the. If it doesn't happen, I never mentioned it, but if it did happen, this is a sneak peek. So anyway, do you have any final notes before we sign off?
No, nothing more from me.
All right. Well, if that's the case, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. If you want to follow or contact the show, you can follow us just about anywhere at Aggieville Alleycats. And if you want to email us, we're AggievilleAlleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I am at ACEdwards00.
I am at Connor Boutsor, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out the official Aggieville Alleycats merch store. Link found in our podcast and Twitter bio. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. Where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.